Right. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the Great Place to Work Leadership Conference 2025. We are happy to have you here with us to discuss some very important issues that affect business, affect the work environment. My name is Lloyd. And I'll be anchoring this event. My co-anchor is no other person than Fred Otamere Edegon, country manager in East Coast Nigeria. Today, today's event is a prelude to the annual awards which we'll hold tomorrow. But for today, we have a very critical, important aspect of business all over the world, and that topic is on AI. We are discussing leading the AI shift, organizational readiness for the C-suite. And our focus is to see how the executive branch, the decision makers, are embracing AI in business today. We have a number of panelists to discuss this event with us to dissect how they have been able to embrace AI while also being great workplaces in their various fields where they play. We're going to see a short video which will help set the tone for today's conversation. And the studio will help us with that very video, after which we'll return to complete our introduction.
Welcome to YouTube Original Stages, once home to Howard Hughes' Spruce Goose assembly hanger and home to much of the first Iron Man, filmed 12 years ago. Many happy memories here. And speaking of taking a look back, technology. It's advancing faster and taking less time to be widely adopted than ever before. Like, as in it took roughly 10,000 years to go from writing to printing press, but only about 500 more to get to email. Now it seems we're at the dawn of a new age, the age of AI, artificial intelligence. Please define.
AI is a branch of computer science dealing with the simulation of intelligent behavior in computers.
Yeah, okay, there you have it. What does it mean? I don't know. Tons of folks are working on it, right? Most people don't know that much about it, and of course, there's no shortage of data or opinions. Anyway, I've heard it said that the best way to learn about a subject is to teach it. But to level with you, I have a wildly incomplete education. Not in my day job, where I've been AI adjacent for over a decade. Anyway, I figured now would be as good a time as any to catch up on the state of things regarding this emerging phenomenon. My sense of it is it kind of feels like Pandora's box, maybe-ish. Much of my understanding on this topic has come from sci-fi stories, which usually depict us heading towards Shangri-La or dystopia. Like most things, I suspect the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Now, along the way, we'll demystify some common misconceptions about things we thought we understood, but probably don't. Terms such as machine learning, algorithms, computer vision, and big data, they will be conveniently unpacked to help us feel like we know what we're doing. Kinda. By the way, Pandora's box. What in the box? It was a clay jar. How about that? Demystified.
Okay, well, that's the video giving us a perspective on the conversation. AI, the global economy is affected by AI. Everybody's talking about AI. We are retooling. Great workplaces are embracing AI and the use of it. Today, we want to look at how far the executive, the C-suite, is embracing AI and how it helps to make them great workplaces. And on top of that, we're also going to be looking at how individuals, those who work in these great workplaces, are also enhanced by the use of AI. So, my name is Lloyd, as I said earlier, and we have today also the country manager at Great Place to Work Nigeria, Mr. Fred Otamiri Elegon. He is going to be co anchoring this event with me. We also have with us this morning distinguished gentlemen and a lady who have, by many standards and in their own rights, explored the use of AI and have worked tirelessly to make their organizations great places to work for. We have Miss Belema Kolesho. She's the territory technical lead for Schneider Electric, and she's contributed a whole lot in ensuring that Schneider Electric is a great place to work. And indeed, she's joining us as part of the panelists this morning. She is going to be giving some perspectives for us at this event. Beyond her, also, we have next on this panel today, Mr. Folorunsho Aliu is the Group Chief Information Officer, Dangote Industries Limited. He's got many decades of experience in the IT environment and has been a director of a number of companies. He comes with a great level of knowledge to contribute to our conversation today on AI and the workplace. Please welcome him as well. We have yet again, we have yet again Mr. Afolabi Oloro, the Acting Managing Director of FBN Quest Merchant Bank. He's got over 20 years experience in leadership and has moved from investment banking to other aspects as well of finance, capital market. We are happy to have him as part of our panel today, and we are going to be dissecting these issues together with him. And we have also with us Mr. Abdelaziz Said, the country general manager for Cisco Nigeria and Ghana. He's a seasoned technology expert of a number of decades and has a studied CV, which is impressive today. We're happy to have him discuss this conversation with us today as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll go right into the conversation by introducing once more Mr. Tamere Elegon, the country manager, Great Place to Work Nigeria, to give the keynote, to direct us, and give a perspective for the conversation to begin formally. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lloyd. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. I just want to appreciate every member of this panel that's taken out time out of their very busy schedule to be here this morning. We've done this post-COVID since 2021. We felt a need to begin to have leadership conversations as a prelude to our award ceremony. On the 31st of October this year, that's actually tomorrow, we will be recognizing companies across Nigeria for building great workplaces. But we felt also that beyond recognizing companies, there was a need to have shared time with leaders. And so since 2021, we've had a pre-award conference to speak on different areas that leaders are playing key roles in. And for this year, we felt the need to speak about AI. Without a doubt, it's here with us. It's around how we make the best use of it. And so for my session, I'm just going to be sharing some insights from the Great Place to Work perspective around AI. And so just a brief overview around what has happened thus far. The fourth industrial revolution is here to stay. 2024 was a watershed around AI. We see across policies that are made. Even in Nigeria, we have our own Nigerian policies. We see a lot of disruption around work and productivity. Even in terms of AI and geographical competition that we see with the US and China especially, there is obviously a case for all organizations across the globe to begin to consider what their AI strategies should look like. And so indeed, there is an imperative around AI from the strategic point of view. Like I mentioned, it's disrupting all industries across the globe. The need for leaders to begin to take concrete decisions around how we move with AI is also very pertinent, and how also do we onboard employees in this journey across from the first industrial revolution, where there was issues around steam engine, to the second industrial revolution around electricity, and to the third one around computers. The need to always carry along employees or workers, as the case may be, is so pertinent. Across the globe now, data points to the fact that about $1 trillion dollar investments around AI is likely to happen. Majority of executives also too see that the return on investments will begin to happen very soon with AI. But the interesting part of around AI is the fact that executive leaders have greater optimism than employees around AI usage. I think the general worry around, will my job remain after AI is fully integrated in my business, are some of those areas that employees have great concerns around. For us as Great Place to Work, we believe that artificial intelligence is not just a technological revolution, it's a leadership test. Winning the AI race today depends less on algorithms and more on how leaders build trust, readiness, and culture around this transformation. As Great Place to Work, we believe that the reason why companies are great workplaces is the level of trust that exists across these companies. And trust for us is global. Trust for us transcends all forms of relationships, whether they are spousal relationships, whether they are relationships with siblings. Trust is the reason that keeps those relationships going. And so how much more organizations? And so that's why we carry out the trust index survey to find out what the trust levels look like, knowing clearly that it impacts on productivity for business. We say even without a shadow of doubt, even the concept around agility, having the right culture within the organization would help drive agility in business more than strategy. And so for us, we've identified three trust behaviors around AI. So for instance, around being able to develop the right talent is critical for us to be able to achieve those objectives. Being able to ensure that employees can ask reasonable questions and get a straight answer regarding AI is also critical. And also to data points to the fact that employees are more likely to embrace AI when they are well trained and when they feel that they are likely to get a reward out of this. And so being able to articulate how employees can benefit from this whole process will be critical. And so, like the Pandora's box, it's time to unbox some of those myths around AI. And for one, people say AI would replace all human jobs. No, AI would automate some tasks, but it would also create new jobs that we see. Some people say AI thinks like human. No, AI does not have conscience or emotions. And so critically, those things that are important around empathy, around creating the right environment for work to thrive, for employees to thrive at work, would also be critical. AI is always neutral and objective. No, our analysis points to the fact that there's some level of garbage in, garbage out around AI. And so that's why it's also very important that when we adopt AI, there's clarity around where that technology is coming from, so it's not littered up with biases around its deliveries. AI would eventually suppress human intelligence and take over. No, we don't see that happening. Also, to AI is too advanced for regulation. Certainly not. Government plays a key role around regulation. Even in Nigeria, where there are plans around being able to regulate AI. And of course, AI can learn and improve by itself. Currently, we don't see that happening around that. And so we would go straight to the panelist questions. I would start with Belima to say, this question is for you, and it's going to be for every member of the panel. Artificial intelligence is rapidly redefining how organizations operate, compete, and create value. From your industry standpoint, how do you see AI reshaping leadership priorities and organizational readiness? And what does being prepared really mean in your context? Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you very much for the question. One of the things that we have seen in Schneider is how we have positioned ourselves, over the years, going from the different industrial revolutions we've had, up till this time. Just before we had, the AI revolution, we had the industry 4.0, revolution, and one of the things that we have seen is positioning ourselves early, to be able to cash in on the benefits of each of the revolutions has drastically changed the way our business models are functioning today. And that we have also seen with AI. So one of the things that we have seen is that we've had a shift towards data-driven decision making. You know, in the past, you have more of experience as a telltale as to how you should run business, but now what we are seeing is that there is a lot more that you can achieve, with decision making that is based on data. Data is a new gold. When we see industries today, even for industries that we consult with, we see that generates a lot of data, every day, daily, and harnessing this data, contextualizing it, and basing your decisions off of this data goes a long way. So this is one that we have done, and as a company also, sustainability and resilience is very key for us. And so when we look at readiness and we look at AI, we have partnered with AI, and AI has given us that shift, in our direction, where we look at it as building for the future, building a resilient future, and building a sustainable future. For the past 4 years, we have ranked as the most sustainable company in the world, and this is because of this strategy that we have, employed. So for us, one of the things that we have done is we've looked at the different core parts of our business, and we have integrated AI into the core processes, from supply chain to engineering, and we have empowered our teams, to be able to have this predictive insights, when they are doing their day-to-day operations. When we look at organizational readiness, what we look at there is fostering agility, ensuring that employees are able to have the innate creativity that they require, to be able to do their work, the work they need to do, in a more nimble way. Okay, upskilling them, upskilling talents. Like you said, employees are more, they feel more enabled, that they are more ready, to take on tasks when they are trained. So training is a very big part of what we have done, and ensuring that AI is ethical. Across our businesses, one thing that we have done is that we have created AI hubs, and these AI hubs are tasked with looking at use cases, business use cases, and ensuring that for different cases we have AI integrated into the daily operations, of the business. And if we take our minds back, to the internet, when the internet, first came, the World Wide Web, what we saw from that was a global connectivity that shaped the industry as it was. And for us now, what we are seeing is that AI has given us better connection to operational intelligence. So we have more intelligence now to be able to deliver impact, and deliver that impact at scale.
Thank you very much. There's something you said I like. I think we are partnered with AI.
Oh yes.
I guess that's probably the terminology that a lot of organizations should take from here. And so, Afolabi, with the banking sector and financial space, where there's a lot of regulations, would that be different around your industry, the experience around this? Speaking to the same question.
Okay, thank you, Otamari, and good to be here. I'll just ride on some of the points made by Belema. So, I mean, it's really an evolution for us, and financial services or banking is no different. What is happening is not new. It's been a long journey to get here. Some people might remember this famous chess grandmaster Gary Kasparov that played this,
Computer?
yes, this computer called Deep Blue at the time. So it's not new, and this was like as far back as 1996. Also, I remember COVID as well pushed us in a certain direction. We were all in the office. 5 days a week, and then COVID pushed everyone out of the office, and life continued. And we moved to a virtual world. So this is for us. We view it as evolution. We view it as progress, and it's certainly not one you can ignore, right? So when I started my career, no one had, well, very few people had laptops, if any, at all. Maybe at some point desktop. So it's a natural evolution. It's an enabler of business. It offers a lot of distinct advantages. But let me just, speak specifically to also governance around it is very critical from the highest level of governance. For at our board level, we're quite conversant with what it means generally, and what it means specifically, to our business. There are various verticals in terms of how we look at this. There's the people side of things, and this is, of course, center ultimately. I'll come back maybe further in our conversation around threats of job losses and things like that. Perhaps some of it is a lot of noise and unfounded. But what is clear is that where you have, a lot of big data, a lot of information, and you're trying to synthesize, intelligence, you're trying to make decisions, you're trying to work off data that has been cleaned, then of course that is what AI does for you in a way that it takes human just a very long time to do it. So on the people side of things, I personally view it as like trying to learn a new language in some ways. If you were to learn to speak Mandarin today, there's the fluency of it, and understanding how to greet people and how to have conversations and what things mean. So that takes a bit of time. There's systems, I think that is, we can take that for granted, hardware, software, handshakes through APIs and all of that. But the more pertinent aspect of it is the governance of it, the ethical consideration, data privacy, issues around confidentiality, issues around plagiarism, for instance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If you don't mind, Afolabi, yes, indeed, you touched on an important aspect of this conversation, and we will come right back to the ethics of it and the lights. Very
Okay.
important. I'm happy already. We're thinking along those lines. I would like to ask at this point, for your client service, how is AI influencing your client service? Of course, the banking industry does the back end side of it and then the front end side of it. Can you just enlighten us what you do, please?
Okay. So in terms of client service, if you think about, let me talk about banking generally, and more specifically retail banking. So the Nigerian banking sector offers banking services to millions and millions of Nigeria spread all around the world. And whether it's in terms of onboarding clients and how you deal with, KYC information, how you store the information, how you process the information, how you onboard account opening, all the way to credit decision. Credit decisions today are being made to a very large degree without any sort of human intervention, just by running, the existing data. Cash flow information, credit default information, and all of that. You can determine debt capacity. You can determine, credit worthiness. So there's a lot that can be done without human intervention, and that's just on, the customer aspect of it. Of course, there's behavioral as well. Through spending patterns, where's the money being spent? Is it on rent? Are you spending on mortgages? How much are you spending on pharmaceuticals and on social activities and things like that? So there's a lot of information out there. And of course, what AI is doing for all of us is being able to synthesize all this huge big data into a form that makes sense and allows you, make very timely business decisions to of course serve your customers better. But that's just one aspect of it. I've spoken to the client onboarding and client relationship management. There's fraud, there's cybersecurity, there's AI used to detect unusual activities. There's even regulatory reporting, there's internal reporting. So there's so many aspects of it. So it really comes down to how you want to use it, the data you're relying on, and how reliable that data is. I think someone said, I think it was the Tamara, garbage in, garbage out. So it's only as useful as the information that it's been
that
fed.
we put into it.
Yes, yes.
Thank
And
you.
of course, at the end of it is you still need a human to make sense of the output, because oftentimes, as we see, AI can also get it quite wrong, or produce inaccurate results as well.
Absolutely. Thank you. I need to say at this point, so we have a number of segments of this conversation. We have the first section, which is strategic readiness. It's what we're treating right now. We have culture, trust, and workforce impact, so that we just keep this in mind. And we have ethics, which you pointed out just earlier, governance and regulation. We will be seeing how AI influences all of these. Then we have leadership, future lessons, all right, which is the final part. So I will go right back to Mr. Falon Shaw Aliu, and to ask at this point, um, as group CIO, how do you assess organizational readiness, your organization's readiness, before deploying AI solutions at scale?
Thank you very much, Mr. Miyake. Good morning.
So,
Good day, distinguished ladies and gentlemen in this room. Well, I think the first thing for us is we like to use frameworks, because what it does, it helps us to take care of the different noises around us so that we can focus on what is useful. Um, as you all know, with everything, technology is like a bell curve. It starts slowly. Most people are not aware. All of a sudden, it gets to a crescendo, and the whole world begins to make noise about it. I think that's what we are getting to when it comes to AI right now. So for us, it's extremely important to do noise and echo cancellation. So we focus on what is important, and that's why we use framework. So for us, we are working on the following strategy. We start everything with our business strategy. It doesn't matter the noise, it doesn't matter the tool. It is first about the business. We are in the business of manufacturing, and that is what it is, and meeting people's needs. We are not going to be carried away no matter how fantastic the noise is. We have our blinkers on, but we know what is important. Now, whatever AI is bringing must help us to deliver to the people who are our customers, the nation, and our people as it were. Then the second thing in our framework we look at is technology. How ready are we when it comes to our technology? And in this area, we look at scalability. I've spoken with a few people and I realized that they are building on non-scalable systems. So you end up building a solution, and after a while, because it's like building a house, you want to build a 10-story building, but you never thought about it from the beginning. You did a foundation for a single unit bungalow. All of a sudden, things blow, and then when you are at the height of getting value from it, that's when you need to pull down, because you cannot build 10-story building on a what do you call it, on a bungalow foundation. So for us, we are evaluating technology to ensure we're not just doing it for today, we are doing it for the long term. Then we look at our data infrastructure, and data strategy as well. We generate loads and loads of data. How are we managing data? How are we containerizing? Which ones are the unstructured? Which ones are structured? How are we putting these things together? It's not just coming at us as we are. For example, a lot of businesses don't take insight-based decisions. The owner, because of age and because of experience, take gut-based decisions. It's not bad. I mean, you need to put your guts in it, but it's always best to know, physically see what is before you think of what can be. And you can even model what can be based on the data you've been generating. So for us, there's a major focus on our data infrastructure and our data strategy as well. These are the things we look at when it comes to our readiness. Again, talent. I think it's Mr. Oloride that talked about talent. Sincerely, AI will fall on its face without talent. Nigeria today, forgive me, I'm not being controversial. One of our greatest issues today is talent. It's not technology, it's talent. There are people say there are no jobs, but there are jobs that have been out there that people have not been able to fill for months and sometimes even a year. And you have to start scrambling to get people, you know, in different climes to handle the jobs for you. So for us, talent building is extremely important. As a result, I mean, one of the things we've done, I'm sure if you look at our website, you're always seeing we are grooming graduate trainees, we are grooming fresh talent and management and all that because we understand it's one of the path on our framework to ensuring that you're not just buying technology or building technology. At the end of the day, it's about the people. So again, culture, as someone said, culture will eat your strategy for breakfast. So we are evaluating our structure, our culture every day. In the words of Eric Offer, he says, in times of great change, the learners, those who are learning, are the ones that would inherit the earth, while the learned are confined to live in a world that no longer exists. We want to be learners. So our organization is learning every day. What a lot of people do not know is internally, everyone has learning quotas internally. As far as we are concerned, we are a learning environment. You need to have a minimum number of learning to be a member of the organization. We continue to learn because only the learners would inherit the world. And AI just happens to be one of the things we are learning and learning aggressively because it will fit into our strategy. I'm sorry, I'll take 3 more areas that is part of our structure, our framework, and I'll yield, sir. Forgive me. Ethics and governance, you talked about that. A lot of things are evolving very quickly, and most people are not even paying attention to how this would affect the way we work moving forward. For us, we are looking at that foundationally. What are the ethics around this? What are the what are the governance issues around it? We're also looking at risk and quality assurance. For example, a lot of people are not focusing on the fact that most of the LLMs today are not trained in our own kind of data. Most of the LLMs we are using today are trained with English-based data and things. If you look at our footprint on the internet, apart from content management, as we see today, TikTok and the other things, our footprint is actually very light. So for us, we are also very clear about that. And then finally, we are looking at strong cybersecurity foundation. It is so easy to build this skyscraper, do all this great stuff, only for it, like closing all the windows and opening the front door. For us, we need to ensure that security is not just about closing, it's also about freedom to do things nimbly, efficiently, and most importantly, leadership takes full stride in this. Leadership is a learning leadership, and for me, that is a blessing. And I would like to commend that to other organizations as well. Be a learner in this world of AI. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before Fred comes up, I just want to make a comment on the very brilliant submission by Mr. Folorunshaw, building foundations that will endure, that can scale. And I think it tallies with what Robert Downey just said in the opening video about the Pandora's box. And it's important for us having this conversation today to be able to put things in the right perspectives so that, like he said, we don't build things that we realize too late we have to tear down to begin to build again. So it tells us again about this conversation. AI gives its gains, but we also need to be watchful, to be careful, to ensure that it doesn't take as much as it does give. Fred, please.
Thank you very much. I think I want to get Abdulaziz involved in this conversation at this time. It would seem like for the industry he belongs to, the organization he belongs to, uh, Cisco basically leading the charge around AI and all those conversations. Is there something we are missing out here based on your perspectives? Because for you, it's what you do every day around AI and technology. So is there something we are missing out from the other industries around how you see and utilize AI?
Thanks, Otamere, and good morning, everyone. And it's been a pretty insightful discussion so far. And from the question you just asked, it's pretty amazing that not so much has been missed out from all the conversations from Afolabi, from FLS, Foloruncho, from Belema. I can tell you we had in October this year, we released the third edition of what we call the Cisco's AI Readiness Index, where 8,000 AI leaders surveyed across 30 markets globally. That was how we came up with that data. And we had put this readiness index across 6 pillars. And out of all those 6 pillars, I think virtually everyone has mentioned one bit or the other of what the 6 pillars are, which is basically strategy, infrastructure, data, governance, which is very, very critical, talent, and culture. The truth around this whole thing that we cannot look at any of these in silos. They have to be deeply interconnected if you're looking at going into this AI journey. And like I said earlier, I think everyone has touched in one way or the other around each of the 6 pillars that I've just mentioned earlier. But again, if I wear my Cisco lens,
We want to,
from
we
that.
want to see that lens.
Exactly.
Yeah, so if I wear my Cisco lens, I still narrow down to 3 critical parts of this, which is the digital infrastructure, digital resilience, because I mean, with the proliferation of different devices in the world and the usage of AI, so that has also spread the attack radius for hackers, for just, all those deadly people who do a whole lot of stuff on the internet. And so every organization has to put that into perspective. Cybersecurity is very key, and that goes along hand with governance as AI scales. Organizations have to be ready to have a secure, reliable way of protecting their footprint. Then on the digital infrastructure, like Falonisha mentioned that too. I'm not just saying this, but virtually every data center, be it in the banking industry, be it in the military, be it in hospitality, I'm not pretty ready from a sizing perspective. So you have to start looking at doing a redimensioning of your data center to be AI ready because of the type of workloads that will be consumed. And again, the things like GPUs, I mean, 4 or 5 years ago, no one ever thought about looking at GPUs, but now with us consuming AI, we have to start looking at that. Proper dimensioning has to be done to take care of what we're going to be consuming in the present and also what we're looking at in the next few years. So
Thank you
that's
very
it from me.
much.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Excellent.
So I'm going to ask them, are you able to put on your camera?
Yeah.
Yes, please, so kindly,
Yes,
because
yes.
this next question is going to you. So I'm back to you on this question to say, what are the most pressing cybersecurity or data integrity challenges companies must anticipate as AI becomes embedded in daily operations? And so that would be a question I'll be able to ask you this afternoon or this morning.
Give me a second. I'm trying to get my camera up.
Okay, it just came on just now. Excellent. Thanks. Yes, and so let me, if I may, let me repeat the question again to say what are the most pressing cybersecurity or data integrity challenges companies must anticipate as AI becomes embedded in daily operations?
So we can start with and I'm sure you guys have, or I mean, quite a handful of people have witnessed this in the recently in terms of deep fakes, whereby you can actually have someone like Otamere on this call having all the facial gestures that you have now, but it's a deep fake. We've seen that happen severally, and also what we call adaptive phishing, very prominent in what we've been seeing so far across board. And that has also, I'm not saying we are foreseeing the future, that has also triggered one of the biggest acquisitions that Cisco as a company did. We acquired a company called Splunk. I'm sure maybe Belema and FLS most, they know about Splunk, and probably Mr. Afolabi too, because it's those are one of the big consumers of SIM and so on that Splunk does. And it also handles a lot of data analytics and predictive threats, observability actions are all tied towards this device. So those are one of the two major things that I've looked at that are prevalent in that sector, or in that, what do you call it? Especially in the banking sector.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So, Belima, this is a question for you. How do you balance adopting advanced automations and AI while maintaining human oversight and safety in critical operations?
You're mute.
Okay, so yes, I just unmuted now. Yes.
Okay.
So for us, it's very critical that we always view, AI as an assistive technology. We've had the hammer, you have the computer, as we know it, without any aid, and then you had the internet, and now we have AI. Okay. So it's always very important for people to see AI as an assistant and not as a lone actor. So that's one major thing for us that we do, as a company. Okay, so when we look at AI, we look at AI as a tool that helps to augment, the abilities of the skilled worker. Okay, we look at it as a tool that helps to unlock the inner creativity, of the personnel using it. And another thing is that we have a governance structure, around the implementation of AI that also ensures that there is oversight. So whether it's from the initial planning, of the system, that we have created, to the implementation of the systems, in the in business wide, across the different departments. Okay, what we've done is that we see it as an assistant. It's not a lone actor, and so every bit of the technology that is fed into it, both for the first reading and then for the retraining. Okay, what we have done is that these large learning models, that have been built by human inputs, and then they are also refined by human inputs and contextualized by human inputs. So at every step of the way, AI is a tool. It's like a body you don't have to be ashamed of revealing. You can be vulnerable, with AI, especially when it has been done ethically. You can, give your ideas, get the contextualized data, because this data is built, like for Schneider Electric, it's built from our knowledge base that was existing way before AI came. This is 50, 70 years of data, that is built into the system. And what you then have is the knowledge that is reposited inside this data helps the human to be able to come to decisions quicker. Okay, you're able to come to decisions quicker. But those decisions are not agnostic of your own intellect. Your own intellect is employed as you use AI. So AI is an assistant, AI is an augmentation tool, and for every step of the way, humans are very critical in ensuring safety, ensuring that it's ethical, ensuring that it is explainable. The results that come out are explainable and they are relevant, to industry.
Thank you very much. And so you said you can be vulnerable with AI. And so
Yes.
Afolabi, I think you had mentioned it earlier on. And so how do you see AI transforming client services and investment management in the banking sector?
Okay, thanks. I think, I mean, maybe I'll speak generally first, right? So if we look at, for instance, how Amazon has been built, or if you look at, FMCG generally, through AI. In fact, it said that as soon as, for instance, on IG or on the internet, people are logging in and viewing a particular product, or you're putting things in your shopping cart, or where you're spending time, that in itself is information that goes straight to the factory and goes to stock levels. So it's all fully integrated. So in our business, what do we do? I was trying to explain earlier. So we acquire customers, right? The process of onboarding a customer, the KYC, you need to submit certain documents, proof of identity, your
Did you lose Afolabi?
Apparently. Um, maybe we just continue. We'll go to the next question. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, it's the Great Place to Work Leadership Conference 2025, and we're discussing the AI shift at the C suite level. We'll be going into, we're basically going into the section which talks about culture, trust, workforce impact. We just lost Mr. Afolabi, but we're hoping he's going to return in a moment. There's a question here I'd like to ask Belema, please. So, what's your company's culture shift? What kind of culture shift um, are your employees made to embrace or take regarding AI? Obviously, AI has come to, 20, 30 years ago, the age of the internet, the computer, a lot of reshaping, resizing, and all of that had to happen. What's your view? What's the preparedness and what's going on at Schneider?
Okay. So in 2001, we started the AI hubs. Okay. The AI hub, should I say, business line, has about 300 employees now globally. And what they were tasked with doing was to look at the business, in total, and reshape it, infusing AI into operations. So the shift we've seen is that AI is built into our core. So it started by taking use cases and having those use cases become everyday operational roadmaps. So for example, you take sales for example, the sales guy has a co-pilot that he works with, that is able to prompt him on optimization tactics, when he's working. The same thing happens in supply chain, the same thing happens in finance, in HR, in the different departments that we have. And inside the learning structure also of the company for the different personnel that we have, what we've also been able to do is to draw a learning roadmap that ensures that people are upskilled, people have that digital mindset, people are boosted digitally in such a way that they can work, alongside AI. They're able to view AI as a partner, as a team member. So it's no longer in one team. Say you were in a one team department, you're no longer in a one team. You are in a two-team department, because you have AI working alongside you, and it's been really interesting. It's a really interesting premise, because what it has done is that it has made people more enabled. Okay, it has made people to be able to refine themselves on their own terms. Okay, you have this knowledge base that is accessible to you on the go. Before, you would have a situation where upskilling is unplugged from operations, and it happens everywhere, where you have either a learning management system, you cut out some time and then you learn and then you plug back into work. But what we are trying to drive is a situation where you learn on the go, on the tasks that you have at that moment. Okay, you are able to draw from inside. A technician that is looking to do a troubleshooting, for example, can plug into the engineering co-pilot, okay, and see how he can take steps, to do his troubleshooting. Okay, he can see how he can aggregate the knowledge that has been reposited, for the last 50 years. Okay, we've moved from the position where you have knowledge that is reposited in one person to having that culture where you have knowledge that is
You can
central.
plug in and tap. Yes.
Exactly. You can plug in and you can gain that knowledge. So, business wise, we have ensured that employees feel confident and employees are prepared to, embrace that digital transformation.
I am excited by the major points that you raised. I'd like to viewers from all over the world. Schneider Electric has 92% of its employees affirming the statement. When I look at what we accomplish, I feel a sense of pride. So obviously, yeah, the strides that Schneider Electric is making to make its work environment a great workplace is evident in these statistics and also in your answer. Thank you very much. Fred, you have a question for her.
Yes, just a minute. And so in a very highly technical industry, how do you ensure that AI adoption doesn't alternate workers, but instead enhances their contribution and safety? I think just maybe you need to buttress on what you said earlier on.
Yes. So I am, I think somebody mentioned it earlier that it's a myth. Okay. The myth around has always been that AI has come to replace,
Take jobs.
replace everybody, it's like taking us all out. But
Yeah.
we have come to see that that is just a myth. Okay. It was the same way, there was the conspiracy theory around, if you remember,
The
was it
computer.
Y2K? Yes, and computers.
Yes.
We see that the fear is not actually the essence, and so we have to focus on the essence. Now, take for example, software engineering and code generation. One of the things we've seen is that AI will probably give you close to accurate 70%, in the generated code. Okay, and that 30% is a skilled worker that brings that value to the table. Okay, so you cannot exactly plug in the code that has been generated into industry application. You need domain expertise, you need industry expertise, along with data science to ensure that that output is what is going to be relevant to industry. So we've seen that we always need to first understand that AI needs us and we need AI. Okay, it's a symbiotic relationship, it's not parasitic. Okay, the other part is when we look at context, okay, an explanation of the relevance of the code that is being generated, that can only be done by humans. That can only be done by the skilled workers. So in our highly technical industry, what we've done is first to disabuse the mind of the employees to say, this is bringing you to another level of ability. Okay, it's increasing your ability. It is augmenting your intellect, okay, and ensuring that you are able to then function at levels that you were not able to do before on your own.
Excellent.
Beautiful. Thank you. So we have a question for Mr. Afolabi Lorode. Um, how many employees in finance fear automation? This like taking a cue from Belema's submission just now. How many employees in finance fear automation could replace human roles? How are you building trust and psychological safety around AI integration? Maybe you could take 2 minutes to give us an answer to that. 2, 3 minutes, please.
Okay, and your question is how are we building what psychological
Yes,
safety?
how are you building trust and psychological safety around the AI revolution?
Okay, thanks, and apologies. I got thrown out while I was speaking earlier. So, I mean, if I just quickly finish what I was saying, and then I'll take this question. So, across the banking sector generally, right? In terms of using AI, it's really to enhance client service and the investment management as you're asking. For us, it's the opportunity really lies in using AI, intelligently to enhance, how we personalize services to our customers, how we strengthen risk management, insights into customer behavior, improve speed and quality, generally of decision making, with advanced analytics, which is, of course, part of AI. It allows us anticipate client needs. We support portfolio analysis. Part of what we do is looking to how to generate superior returns for our clients who invest with us. It allows us to, have deeper insights into markets, both locally and globally. So for us, direction is clear. Data is required. People need to understand and appreciate the role of AI in this. Now, let me speak to the question you asked. The fact is that anything that involves large volume of data and data that is repetitive are those tasks that lend itself to AI. Now, there's still so many things that require human judgment that AI can just not be a substitute to. So let me give an example. You can pull together information, financial information, or any information of that, customer information. And rather than have, an analyst spend a whole week preparing a 50-page deck, AI does that for you in minutes. But you still need to sit down and read, and there is a judgment element to things. I mean, for all of us that have used AI, if you put a 500-page document into AI and it summarizes it, it gives you the gist of the document, but you still have to read the document. It doesn't replace you reading the document. It might make proposals in directions to go, but all those are anecdotes. And we have to also realize that with AI and machine learning, the systems get more intelligent the more it's fed with data and the more it interacts. And we have to realize that that is a big limitation of it today and will be. Of course, it keeps getting intelligent, and that's exactly what you want it to do. But in terms of the overall decision making, in terms of, for instance, go to market or what you plan to do with the information, it's really a partner. And I like what Belema said. So, as with everything from time immemorial, certain roles become redundant over time. And of course, it creates new opportunities. It's just shifts that tend to happen. So I don't think there should be fear. I think in terms of creating psychological safety is really understanding and appreciating what you're trying to achieve. I think it was Olorenshaw that said something. At the end of the day, we all have businesses to run. It starts with business strategy, which is the objective of why you're pulling together capital, pulling together people. And AI is just a partner in that process and doesn't substitute very many things. If you see what I mean. So rather than spending a month trying to pull together something based on human effort, AI does it for you in 1 minute. So it cannot be ignored because and it's readily available and to be deployed. So I personally don't think that it's like saying that, well, you can take Nigeria's constitution, put it in AI, and you download certain aspects of the constitution, and then that makes you a SAN. And why do we need SAN, or why do we need someone to interpret it? It cannot be. It only helps you to compress work and spend time on more value adding
Chelsea. Yes.
activities. Yeah.
If I may, Lloyd, Folabi, I'm actually coming to you, but if I may, Folabi, would there be a need from management's position to maybe organize webinars or organize sessions where you put employees' fears to rest to say this is not coming to take your jobs? Is there a plan around, or should there be a plan around?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great question. And I mean, in some ways, whilst we can say that AI is not new at all, but I mean, it's still very much evolving. I don't know if this has been fixed. It was earlier in the year, a colleague of mine told me, type in what is today's date or time or something. No, what is today's date? And it was showing the date of the preceding not today's date, but yesterday's date. And I
Time
mean,
zone.
Time
Was
zone,
it affected
exactly.
by
There could
time
be
zone,
time,
maybe?
precisely. There's so many things. But again, as the systems get more intelligent, then it's mapping your time zone to tell you
Absolutely.
you're not in Australia, you're
Yeah.
in Lagos, Nigeria, and things like that. So for us, what are the things that we're doing? Um, we have to align the use of AI must work for us rather than the other way. So it's, the dog wagging the tail, not the tail. So what do you need it for? What are those repetitive tasks that you want to delegate to AI? Training is very important. Just as I said, is like fluent in language. Someone asked Altamir to start speaking Mandarin today. I don't know if you're a Mandarin speaker, you have to understand, the nuances of the language and the building blocks so that you can converse in it. There's policy. So for us at FBN Quest Merchant Bank, we have a policy in place. That policy will continue to evolve. We need to set up, it's a bit early stage for us in terms of how we're using it. We need to establish, certain governance structures around it, similar to how you have IT committees, you have risk management committees, human capital committees. You also want to have, AI committees that deal with different aspects of the governance, ethical aspects, which borders on things like plagiarism, things like what do you call it, infringement on personal rights and things like that. So there's so many aspects to it, but I think fears are quite unfounded. As we evolve, roles will change. Once upon a time, there were typists who used to type letters. Somebody would write out a letter, handwritten, or read it out, and then somebody goes to a manual typewriter and types. And if there's
500
an
words per
error, you have to
minute.
typex it or retype
Yes.
it. Yeah, so it's just exactly in that vein. But there's so many different aspects in developing the policy and ensuring the ethical use of it. Someone mentioned deep fake. That is very real. That is a clear and present danger that everyone must deal with. But because it's here and because it's a global phenomenon, as it evolves, regulation will be updated, policies will be updated, to reflect the realities of what we're dealing with.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Afolabi, you
Folabi.
had a
I'd like
question
to,
too?
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry. Afolabi had his hand raised for a while. You want
Okay.
to share something? Sorry, Folosha.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm so sorry. I hope I'm not sounding contrarian. So before I make my statement, let me say I'm putting down the toga of GCIO Dangote. I'm speaking as myself,
Okay.
right? So I don't sound contrarian, and I don't sound like I'm not on the panel. But I feel very strongly that we also need not dumb down the effect of AI. It's important that we situate the issues properly. Mr. Aloride is probably a mind reader because the example I wanted to give is what he gave. I wrote a book in 2016, and the example he gave is what I gave. AI would take some jobs. Fear is a good thing if it is not morbid, if it is not paralyzing. Pain is a good thing because it tells you there's something wrong you need to fix. As a friend would say, pain is a lot of information coming at you at the same time. I think it's important to let people know that AI taking jobs is not a myth. It is what type of job it is taking, so that you are not caught pants down when it comes for those jobs. It's important for businesses to and that's part of building trust when you tell people the truth and help them move up. So things like some area of customer service, I can tell you loads and loads of people I have models and models for basic customer service things that AI have actually taken care of if you train them appropriately, that can answer you almost 100% of the time. So if we tell someone who is in baseline, what do you call the customer service, just answering phone call and all, and say, oh, it's not going to take your job, I don't think we are being fair to the person. What we should be doing is telling the person, this and this and this are the things that can be taken. Can you upskill? Can you learn this new thing so that you don't get sucked out? There's no sense in upskilling in a vertical that is dying, or upskilling in area that is going to be wiped away. So again, I'm not trying to sound morbid or anything, But I think that we should situate it so that people know. I mean, as an organization, one of the ways we can really build trust is when we help people move away from areas that would be, it's like lying in the lowlands near the coastal region. When there's a flood, you are the first to go. It may or may not happen, but it's important for government to help them move upland. That's the way I just would like to put it. So
Yeah, yeah,
forgive me
Fred.
if I
Yes.
sound contrarian. I
No,
just
no,
wanted
no,
to.
that's fine. Fred,
That, that's
I like
appreciated.
to, at this point, I'd like to maybe ask all other panelists to unmute your mics. Can we have a resolution on this? Can we agree with the fine points? Indeed,
So,
Mr. Falabi just actually touched on this just a while ago. And so I'd like for us to chew on this just within 2, 3 minutes. We have crossed into the 1 hour mark in our conversation now. And I would like for us to be mindful of our time. But this is a very important juncture. Yes.
okay, I think Balema should go first. I see a hand up. I have some views I'd like
I
to
haven't posed
add
any
as
question
well.
to Mr. Saidi for a while, so I'd like to also have him after Belema, please. I'd like Mr.
Okay.
Abdelaziz to have a
Okay.
go at it. Yeah.
Okay. I want us to view it not as AI taking that job, but the should I call it the reluctance to move on the train actually taking that job, not AI taking. So you have a job and you have a function, right? Your job evolves. That person could get promoted, but he didn't lose his job. He moved a function. So AI is here to change our functional expertise. And it's left for us to be open to AI and partner with AI and upskill, our personal skills and be able to work in this new, should I say, cultural shift that we have. So again, I would say AI is not taking jobs as it is, in the term. What is happening is that there is a shift in industry. If we look at it, industries that have died over the years and opposed to industry that have survived over the years. Okay, what happened was a reluctance to ride the wave. So you have to be able to, understand the times, understand what is necessary, what is the function that is relevant for today, and plug into it. And on the other side, organizations also have that onus on them to ensure that they are moving their colleagues, I mean, their employees along. Okay. You cannot have an organization that is riddled with fear and think that that's a winning team. I always say a winning team is an enabled team. So you need to enable your teams. So when we have that collaborative effort, first on the employee who says, I want to be in this train, okay, and I see these things as things that I can do to evolve myself. I don't think there is hardly any employee that doesn't want to move up. There is hardly any employee that doesn't want to stay relevant. Many of the time, the what happens is the paralysis of fear of what do I move into, and that's where the organization has to be transparent with their strategy. You have to be transparent. You have to let the people know this is where we are going and this is what is available. Okay. For us, what we did is we have what we call the career hub. Okay. Before it used to be called the OTM. And what happens there, you have publications, of different job openings, different strategic shifts, and people are able to plug themselves inside. And again, you have a career manager that is run by AI. Again, that shows you from your deep, your T-shaped career, your parent skills and your transfer skills, how you can pivot into other places that will be relevant where you can function, as an employee. You also have the podcast. You have many podcasts that the company runs. That opens your mind to the possibilities that await you if you are able to ride that wave. So I think I would like to stop it there and say two things. One, AI is not taking jobs. What's taking jobs is a reluctance to ride the wave, and also organizations, not being open and strategic with their drive and not carrying their employees along. I think that's what I see, as the major culprit, in this myth that has been prevalent. Yeah.
Excellent. So the panelists will have a go at this. Mr. Florence has actually just sent a message clarifying, making the point, your point, which is basically his point. I'd like to hear from Mr. Abdulaziz Saidu on this, please.
Um, was that Mr. Ima or
Yes, indeed.
Dr.
Yes, yes.
Yes, so I'm pretty aligned with Belema's thought process, Mr. Folebe's thought process too. I mean, because I'm looking at this from our own organizational perspective. Um, Belema mentioned earlier that this is a symbiotic relationship, and she's absolutely right. We're not looking at AI as coming to take people's job, but to augment what they're doing. And the direction we took at my organization was the head of HR, we call the head of HR Chief People's Officer. She drove that initiative across board, across the whole organization. So in a way, that thing of that fear has been taken off. We had a lot of awareness program. We had enablements put into what we call QEPs. QEPs are basically quarterly enablement programs. So, I mean, we upskill continuously. It's not as if, okay, I'm going to do a program for 2, 3 weeks and I'm done. No. And even this upskilling program has been automated by AI. When I mean automated by AI, Belema also mentioned something around that. It looks at me, okay, let's say I'm a solutions engineer and my focus is on maybe cybersecurity. It looks at the skills that I have and starts to create a success track, let me put it that way, for that individual. And this is being backed by your own direct line manager. So, and then this cuts across every single entity in the organization, even down to the executive leadership. Is they all have that what we call QEPs, like I mentioned earlier, tied to everyone. So now it's more of a buzz of the awareness. It's not a myth again in the organization, and even down to the tools that we use. And that's why we say you have to have a future ready workplace for your employees. The tools we use in our organization, virtually it's all AI. They're all AI driven. You know, I can give you an example. We use WebEx, which is a tool like Zoom. That's how I communicate with people around the world. I still work with teams across the world. Um, there was an initiative we had with some schools recently, and with our WebEx, it does transcription in around 150 languages. And out of this 150 languages, we have 3 Nigerian languages in it, which is Hausa, Yoruba, and Igbo. And its accuracy is about 99.9%. So, I mean, you can see how you use, I've digressed from how we use this daily to how our consumers use this product. So, I mean, in virtually all we do, AI is integrated in what we do, what we give to our customers, how we um, um, sort out solutions for our customers. It's all tied in it, be it from a cybersecurity perspective, from customer experience, which is your call center. I think Lorenzo mentioned something earlier. I mean, it's gotten to a point where you have agentic AIs embedded in solutions like this, whereby you don't have to get on the phone and you hear that normal funny music playing and keeps you on hold for about 2 to 3 or 4 minutes, but it hits right to the point. And with the proliferation of devices, you don't have to um, serve your customers with just a phone call. Social platform, social media platform, Mr. Afolabi will tell you, I mean, they will have something like that. You don't have to always use the phone call. People tend to want to consume or get information in real time. Virtually every Nigerian has a smartphone now. So be it Facebook, social media, TikTok, and most organizations have all those channels because you have to reach out to these people with those channels. So that's my own input, Mr. Emmanuel.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that contribution. I think we have to wrap this segment. Mr. Uh, Folonsho has made his point in the conversation. And so we are all decided, we are all agreed on this. I have to ask a question to Still on Mr. Saidu Abdelaziz, what can African nations do to create cultures that are open, data literate, and AI curious rather than AI fearful? So we're looking beyond your office now. We're trying to pitch perhaps to the government, to the society, to leaders to say this is something that could be done to improve. Um,
I think first things first, I think our leaders have to lead with empathy, because a whole lot of times people have that thing of, I mean, it still ties down to fear that you mentioned earlier. We need to lead with empathy. We need to understand where everyone's strength is, and we need to um, come up with individual, I don't want to use the word strategy because it's been overflowed. In the individual no, not even framework, individual plans for every employee in your organization on how we can embrace, uh, it's not a change, but it's something that we can't run away from, which is the adoption of AI. So awareness campaign is a very big thing that we should also look at this point in time around what you just mentioned, Mr. Tamara. So I think that's all I have for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that answer. Fred?
Yes, I think my question is for Belima. Governments across Africa are still defining frameworks around AI. How can the private sector collaborate with policymakers to ensure regulation enables innovation rather than restricts it?
Yeah, so I think the major thing is to understand that domain expertise is very necessary. If you look at the oil and gas industry, telecoms industry, any industry that has made its way in Nigeria, one of the things that you would see it that is prevalent there is that the standards that you have in these industries have trickled into the policies that have been let out. Okay, and we need to see that kind of thing also in this technology space where we look at the digital revolution. Okay, um, one of the things that I see when I go around a lot, because I do a lot of consulting, with industry players, is there is this perception of not wanting to fix things until they are broken. And when we look at things like the sustainability charter, when you look at reducing carbon footprint and all of these things tend to be culprits in increasing, our carbon footprint, in not allowing us to be as sustainable as we want to be. And so it takes we, the private sector, partnering with government, or should I say government opening that door and understanding that AI is here to stay, and it's only going to evolve, and the fact that Nigeria needs to cash in on this and cash in on it early, bring in the domain experts, and sit around the table and understand what is necessary in the industry. Like you said, not to restrict it, but rather to enable it. And when we begin that, what we'll see is a nationwide, or rather a continent-wide digital transformation program or digital transformation journey that could exude from that. And I see a lot of benefits coming out of that. Before we can even start talking about AI, then the data has to be there, the data has to be ready. We have to have systems that are connected. We have to have the repository, the data repository that we can then contextualize. So all of this needs to be done, and those can only be enabled by policies. It can only be enabled by acts that are given to ensure that industries are wielded into those directions where they want to start out their digital transformation journey. And it will just be, something that will evolve out of that, having them move then into AI, because what AI does is that it makes you move into decision and data driven decision making. And when you're looking at data driven decision making, then you have to have that infrastructure in place, in your organization. Another important part there is the localization of this technology. what we have seen, especially with the NCDMB charter, with the oil and gas industries, is that there has been that mandate that knowledge must be be localized. Okay, if you have an expert, you have to have a back-to-back that is a local, and that has really transformed the oil and gas industry. We have the likes of NLNG that is about 100%, local, expertise. We see that also in the telecom, industry. And we also need to see that in the enabling structure that guides, the build, of this technology when we're now talking about AI. It needs to be localized. We need to have it in Africa, so that we can have, like you said, the large learning models. I know one of the panelists mentioned that, that many of them, are built on foreign premises. We need these models that are built on contextualized premises, local premises. And that is what is then going to aid the quantum leap, that we will get in productivity, that comes out of AI. Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. And I need to point out, Paul Wright, from I don't know what part of the world, it's not indicated, but he's dropped a very important question, which also tallies to this segment that we are looking at: ethics, governance, and regulation. So his question is, if AI is expected to replace jobs as discussed, then school curricula, that was an initial question. Right, okay. If AI is set to replace certain jobs as discussed, what will become of students currently studying for those roles and those jobs, right? Or field of study courses in the institutions of learning. I
think
will,
Abdulaziz
yes,
can
right.
take. Can you take that, Abdulaziz? Well, because I think your hand was raised up initially, so
Yes, I can take it,
maybe
but my
yes.
hand was raised up initially for just to buttress on Belema's point. And I just wanted to talk more on the effort the government is doing, because it's more of a public-private partnership. The effort of the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, I mean, they had come up with the um, National AI Strategy, and which I believe every institution should always also align that in terms of how they are building their strategy, because eventually it's still going to affect how you do things. And even need that, they have an AI transformation roadmap. And I've been opportune to be involved in some of these discussions. So it's more of a PPPP. It's not something that the government can do alone. The private sector playing their part. And one interesting thing too, I think the minister did was to there's a committee of AI specialists in diaspora. They actually came to Nigeria sometime in around August, this same time last year, where the best minds of Nigerians, be it in Harvard, in all the big schools, came around and see how they can tap their, put in as much of the
The
talent they have
knowledge.
in technology and talent into what we are trying to do in Nigeria, and down to LLMs, to things are being localized. So they're just bits and bits of structured, I don't use the word committees, but group of individuals or companies who are doing quite a lot to see how we can actually localize um, our LLMs in Nigeria, and even doing things in our local dialects. We have a whole lot of talent that, and I think one thing I'm praising the minister, but he's doing a whole lot, to be honest. Even if people don't see this, I'm aware of a whole lot that has been happening. What's amazing is the amount of talent we have in Nigeria, what people do. Some of these people don't have a means of being identified. And with social media, some just push out what they're doing, and even the minister says it, or people admit that. And that's how they embrace them and start to see how they can co-ideate with them and come up with a desired output for such.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me write on that further. So just my apologies, Iman. To say that in Nigeria, one of our greatest strengths
Yeah.
has always been putting together documents. And so
Yes.
across ministries, across parastatals,
Yeah.
there are all kinds of documents.
Mhm.
So it's so for us, well, the concern would be around execution. And so maybe you can shed light around what the minister is doing around, or what government is doing around execution on all of this, so that all of this doesn't take us unawares as organizations across.
So for AI, I wouldn't say anything around that. But again, I know I was involved in a national digital literacy workshop. It was like a 2-3 day workshop. And these questions you brought, you asked now came up in terms of how, I mean, we do all these activities, we do all these events. How do we have like a repository where all this is being tied? And I don't want to, I hate using the word committee, but I mean a group of individuals. I mean, there's a responsibility being tied to certain people within that team to consolidate all this, and not just from within the federal institutions, but everything coming out of the states. And they've had a cadence to see how they manage activities and data that has been pulled in. And I think this was driven by NIDA itself. So
Right.
I think there's the noise in the background. Sorry.
Yes, echo.
George, can you try and mute?
Just can we mute everyone's mic so that we can focus on who is speaking? Yes. As Mr. Abdulaziz wraps up his statement. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, let me just continue.
Judge, can you mute all mics? Yeah, so Mr. Abdulaziz, you were making your final statement.
Yes. So my in summary, I'm just saying a whole lot of times we tend to see that the private sector are the front runners of initiatives like this, be it AI, cybersecurity, data sovereignty for a country. But I think the government are doing a lot. It's on us, the private sector and other OEMs in this space to put in our best to. I can tell you there's a whole lot going on. And in terms of the digital literacy thing, we know about the 3MTT initiative by the minister, the 3 million tech talents, which we are plugged in, and some other OEMs around Nigeria are plugged into that. It's not just only embracing AI, but if your digital literacy is at its minimal level, how can you get to the level of doing getting creative with AI? So I mean, these are fundamentals that we should all look at and not just embracing.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Abdulaziz. Let me read a few statistics regarding um, our panelists and the companies that they represent. We have at Dangote Group, we have 93% of employees affirming the statement that management is competent at running the business. And so this is an information from their staff through a survey that says 93% of their employees agree that the management is competent and great at running the business. I had mentioned that of Schneider Electric earlier. 92% of employees affirm the statement. When I look at what we have accomplished, I feel a sense of pride. And that's what the employees at Schneider Electric are saying. At FBM Quest Merchant Bank, 85% of employees affirm the statement management has a clear view of where the organization is going and how to get there. At Cisco, 95% of employees affirm the statement I am offered training or development to further myself professionally. Obviously, we can see right here all panelists and the companies that they represent are already gearing up for improvement of their employees, ensuring that with the age and the shift towards AI, A lot is being done to embrace and to enhance the career and productivity of their staff. So we have about 26 more minutes for this conference, and we have a few other questions that would like to ask. Um, so I've asked this question, and I'm going to ask it to Belema. Um, Governments across Africa are still defining regulatory frameworks for AI. How can the private sector collaborate with policymakers to ensure regulations enable innovation rather than restrict it? So, to break it down, AI will bring innovation. It's bringing innovation. And in bringing innovation, you might find that the norm or what is the practice might need to be adjusted. And it might peak regulation, it might upset regulation, it might make regulation get curious. So the question is, how can private sector collaborate with policymakers to ensure we're talking about AI shift now. So when there's going to be a shift in regulation and all that, how can it be done seamlessly to benefit the private sector and also the regulator? Belema, please.
Okay, I think Mr. Sorry, I forget. Mr. Tamari actually asked me that question a little earlier, and I'll iterate again and say, that we need to, work hand in hand with government, the private sector. We need to borrow from what has worked, in other established industries in Nigeria, and in Africa, and we need to ensure that we work together to ensure guidelines, not how will I put it, not boxes, that put AI in a box, but
Yeah, so,
guidelines.
so, so just not to cut you, the twist I am actually hoping we can look at is, do you foresee a conference? Do you foresee, earlier on, a gentleman, I think it was Fred himself, actually mentioned that he's skeptical about committees, documents, and all that. But
Yeah,
what do
yeah,
we do? Do we get people into a room? What do we do
yes,
to
yes. I
actually
think
frame out things and hammer out things?
yes. Yes, I think that's where I'm, leaning on. Okay, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. That's what I'm trying to say here. We have what has worked with other sectors. For example, getting private practitioners, okay, and government into a room and saying, what do we need to do? And not leaving it as notes on the table, but actually having an implementation plan. Okay, looking at industry and saying, what are the major culprits we have in industry today that are impeding the adoption of AI? And with those salient points that have been drawn, have a roadmap and have a task force, okay, that goes ahead to ensure that within certain guidelines, okay, we are able to hit the ground running and have an impact driven exercise, in industry, where it could look at something like incentivizing industries to be digital ready. Okay, that's a basic that we can start from. Manufacturing industries, I can tell you a lot of manufacturing industries are still manual, and if the industry is still manual, then there is a long way to go before you even begin to talk about data driven decision making. So we need to start from those points and say, what are the impediments we have today in industry? Private practitioners, what are the things that you see every day when you walk, the corridors of these industries? And given these salient points that we have, given these pain points that we have drawn from industry, we can then draw up policies and draw up acts, that mandate companies to be able to have a digital ready stance that then brings about that innovation appetite that will then ride AI, in industry. Because the truth about the matter is that AI has to be fed with something, okay? And that something is data. And data has to come from somewhere, and it's going to come from the industries. And if the industries are not data ready, then it's just going to be conversations and policies on paper that are never executed.
Thank you very much. Now, I have a question for Mr. Folorunsho. So, considering the different levels of AI maturity in Nigeria, across and then across African countries, How important is regional collaboration? I mean, ECOWAS, Africa Union, in setting shared standards for ethical AI use and data governance. You probably want to check your mic, Mr. Folorunsho, and I will repeat the question. Have you unmuted yourself, please?
Yes, I have. Can I know if you can see me or hear me?
I can hear you, though I can't yet see you. Let me see. Yes, I can see you now. So I'll repeat the question. Considering the different levels of AI maturity across African countries, how important is regional collaboration, I mean, ECOWAS, Africa Union, in setting shared standards for ethical AI use and data governance? I will tell you for a start, I'm sure you're very much aware that the EU has its standards. I mean, they're talking and definitely have in terms of trades and trading and a lot of other things, collaboration. So, what do you see? How important is regional collaboration?
Okay, thank you very much. I think collaboration is always a beautiful thing. If you ask me, the sum of the whole is always greater than, sorry, the whole is always greater than the sum of its parts in anything we do, really, if we do it well. But for me, I don't think the issue is really about whether it's important or not. It's actually very important, and I think everybody knows that. I think there are more fundamental issues around, do we even do basic things together, as a region? We're so fragmented in almost everything. So the issue of collaborating on the level of AI, as fantastic as that is, it's not whether we say it is good or not. It's the fact that we need to fashion out a realistic way for these kind of things to happen. If not, they go the way of most other things. You talked about the EU. There is a structure in place that makes things happen. But in Africa, we don't even trade with ourselves. And one thing about commerce drives almost everything. If you trade with people, then you would have to agree on the protocol. That's why this AFTA is very good. And I hope and pray, and I'm really rooting for it to work well. But organically, I think there are different organizations working across Africa that are beginning to do that collaboration. But from a regional perspective, I think that organizations like yours and large powerhouses, can push a bit more. But I would rather come from the perspective of commerce, because once commerce gets into things, then people will negotiate protocols that would help them drive, things. I don't know if I've answered the question. It's great to have it happen.
You
I'll be glad that it happens. But realistically, we need to put in frameworks. We need to push in. We need to have champions. I think that's probably the best way to put it. Champions that would push this across, because we don't have a very great history of collaborating on major things across Africa, as sad as that sounds. But it's a great thing to do, and it's a great thing to have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Folonsho. How about the people here on this panel
Yeah,
spearheading this move at some point? Fred, what do you think?
certainly agree with that. The need for because I still feel that there's a lot that leaders or leadership can do across industries.
Absolutely, which is the essence of this
I
content.
still feel that there's a lot of learning that leaders need to take that initiative on, especially companies in Africa. There's a need to learn. There's a need for some levels of vulnerability around leadership to say, I do not know this. And when I say leadership now, I mean management, executive management, I mean even the boards of organizations to say, we do not know what this future holds. And if we want to be able to lead our people right, we need to be able to know what this portends for us, or what the challenges or opportunities for growth that exist
Absolutely. That's why I talked
for us.
about commerce. That's why I
Yeah.
said commerce. Once there's a value required there. For example, it's the job of executive management to train their boards. You are an executive management. One of the things you put on the table is training for your board members. You don't know what you don't know, pure and simple. But as executives, one of the things you put in maybe like 2, 3 times in a year, you do training for your board so that it can also bringing their wealth of experience and overlay on this new information you've given to them. And we do this across. Again, once commerce is involved, the only downside of that is you can only do so much. The might of government has a way of has a way of what's the word now, when you go in geometric progression, has a way of making things go in X version. If you and I are doing something, no
Exponential,
matter,
yeah.
thank you, that's the word, I'm so grateful, exponential. So you and I, First Bank and my organization doing something, doing it great and all that, we affect the maybe 100,000 people that work with us, which is good. But if there's a policy that drives this, all of a sudden there is
Yeah.
an exponential growth to
Skills.
it.
Yeah.
So yeah, scale, that's the word. Thank you. In fact, thank you very much, Mr. Anyike. You're a good man.
Yes, and so so
Scale
so so
comes
maybe
into play.
maybe for Dangote Industries, that is arguably the biggest across West Africa. You talked about trade, so maybe you can begin to drive this initiative, because we see value in your numbers across Africa, especially in West Africa. So I would imagine if with Dangote Industries and for the First Bank Group, for instance, and I know the other ones are big here, but in terms of those numbers, these are some of our big organizations that we work with. They're coming together collaboratively to say, even across trade, we need to be able to have this conversation. I'm sure government will begin to listen if we
Yeah. So
had
FLS,
these huge
sorry,
organizations begin to drive this
FLS,
engagement.
sorry, if I may ask.
Abdulaziz, you want to say something?
Yes, I was
Yes,
going to ask
just
FLS.
1 minute. Yeah,
Yes,
just a moment, Mr. Abdulaziz. I'd like to say you have a minute to do that. In 2 minutes, we may need to open the floor for questions. By the
oh,
way, our viewers from across the world, you can type in your messages in the chat platform, and we'll pick them within the time frame that we have. Please, Mr. Abdulaziz, go ahead. Thank you.
yes, I was going to ask FLS if Dangote is part of is AFCT. It's just along the African trade. I can't remember the full. You mentioned it earlier. The AFCT.
Yes,
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 yes, yes.
Yes. So
Like I said,
yeah,
have
that's a
been
strong
done.
point.
Yeah,
Okay.
things have been done. But
Yeah.
again, as everyone here knows, there are a lot of average Nigerians doing things every day.
Yeah.
But we need skill. It's skill that makes the
Yeah.
difference. That's why I find it painful when we talk about Nigerians that are not doing things and all that. The average Nigerian is breaking his back to do great stuff. But
Yeah.
what makes the difference is skill. So we are doing it, but I'm saying that when we all get together like this and we push pressure, as it were, and government gets involved,
excellent.
that skill makes the
Yes,
difference. Until
excellent.
Yeah.
there's scale, they say there's a needle that breaks the camel's back, right? But
Mhm.
I'm sure it's not one needle. There have been a lot of needles before that one single
The
needle
straw.
breaks the back. So we need to get that extra needle to make these things have the desired effect on our land, as it were. Thanks.
And quickly, before I round up, thanks, fellas. Before I round up, I also wanted to mention we're talking about regional collaboration. The African Union in July came up with its own AI strategy for Africa. So I just wanted to add that to the conversation so we can all look at that. It's out there in the public internet.
Thank you for bringing that into perspective. I'm sure that eventually we'll have a look at it and see
Yeah.
what's embedded in
And
that.
from a data sharing perspective too, I mean, it's not fluid across Africa. Just a few countries do that. I can tell you for
Exactly.
free, Rwanda and Kenya do that a lot, and they've seen that benefit. But there's that push and that drive for us to just make that pan across the whole of Africa. But we'll just see how it goes.
Thank you very much. We have the final section, which is short leadership, future, and lessons. So this is to all panelists. Fred, yeah, would you have the first go?
Excellent. And so I go to Belema here now to say that in your personal leadership journey, what mindset have you had to make in response to AI? I think after Belema, then Afolabi can also have
Flavio,
the
yes,
floor
indeed.
to respond to that. So once again, in your personal leadership journey, what mindset shifts have you had to make in response to AI?
You may want to check your mics, please. It is probably muted. Um, who takes first, Afolabi or Belema?
Belima,
Sorry, my network dropped off back there. I didn't hear the
okay.
question.
I'll repeat the question. So, in your personal leadership journey, what mindset shifts have you had to make in response to AI?
Okay, I think
Mindset shifts.
yeah, I think the first one is being open, having a different approach to learning, understanding that there is a lot of potential productivity, that is yet to be manifested today, and to look beyond costs and rather embrace, return on.
I think the network
Network
is fluctuating. What we will do is to ask Mr.
Things that you
Afolabi
can
to drop.
get,
Okay,
from
okay.
implementation. Just have that mindset where you are open to those possibilities and embrace technology as it comes to be able to achieve those things you need to achieve.
Thank you. Falabi, you want to write on that? Have there been any mindset shifts? Is there something you've had to do drastically or change around with AI?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, for me, AI is not one that one worries or one is afraid of. And I wanted to just speak to the issues around the whether it's replacing jobs, but I'll come to that if there's time. So for me, I think the biggest shift has just been moving to a mindset of curiosity, on learning some of the things I know, because the funny thing about a data driven world or decision-making process for leaders is the fact that data could produce outcomes that shocks everyone and confronts conventional wisdom. And we see some of those things. So, for instance, in banking, in consumer banking, it is said that people are more interested in the timing of credit approvals and access to credit than the interest rate, for instance, of the loan. Now, some of these things defy conventional wisdom in how we think about businesses. So I think there's an element of humility, humility to say, well, I don't have all the answers, and perhaps I might be wrong. Curiosity, openness, and a collaborative style of leadership, which in a sense is saying, well, I have an input to consider rather than approaching decision making with a fixed mindset. So for me personally, I think it's a lot of unlearning, and open to learning new things.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Before I ask the next question to Falon Shaw and Abdelaziz, I'd like to let our viewers and everyone across the globe know we'll be wrapping this up in a few minutes. If you have questions regarding conversations that we are having, please, this is when you can type into the chat box and I will see them and we will read them, and our panelists will do their best to answer them within the time that we have remaining. Now,
Emma, Emma,
Okay,
sorry
first
to
of all, with
interject you.
Simon.
Emma,
With Simon.
can you give me just a few seconds? There was something I wanted to say, and I think it's important,
please
Okay.
feel
given
free.
the questions. So it's on this whether AI is replacing jobs, and almost approaching it with a sense of fear. So human existence is evolutionary. Things come and things go. And as one door shuts, one opens. So I'm not even sure that I want to push forward that narrative that it's going to replace jobs. Let's take teaching, for example, right? What happened with COVID? Students were not going to physical schools, so teachers had to teach online. Now, did that replace teachers? No, right? It's just the media. And if we think about it, for every job function that is made redundant, many other job functions are new. So we're talking about AI. Let's flip it to the other side. What powers AI? It's power, actually, if you think about it. The sheer amount of power supply that is required to build power plants, whether it's coal, whether it's thermal, whether it's gas, whether it's solar, is huge. So for those who are saying, well, what are the new things to do? There is power. People need to build data centers and cloud facilities. What are the new rules? Data science is a big thing now. Data analytics is a big thing. Mining of rare mineral, all these processors use a lot of microchips and all of that. Mining is big. So I think it's just one where, especially as leaders going forward, it's just educating people on while certain things will become redundant, a lot more things are new and exciting, and that's the future. So I think it's net positive rather than necessarily replacing jobs. Some jobs, of course, but I think it's more positive than negative or that we should be fearful about. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Recalls to mind what Mr. Saidu said about upskilling, which Belema herself also seconded, and yourselves as well. Every panelist, of course, agreed that as long as you upskill, you really don't have too much to worry about. Now, for the final question on this, Mr. Falonshaw, what advice would you give to fellow CEOs or executives just beginning their AI readiness journey? I'd like you to do this in 40 seconds, please.
Okay.
Mr. Falonshaw,
One,
yes.
yeah, one, be a learner, an open mind. Two, have a strategy around it. Don't be carried away by the noise and by the echoes around you. What are your use cases? What fits into your business and what does not? Understand that your business is first there. You need to be in business before you can. You need to be you need to be in business before you can stay in business. Understand that, and then build skills and ensure that you carry your people along in whatever it is you do. Most importantly, whatever you build for skill. That would be my and embrace change. Thank you.
Embrace change, whatever you build, which was his initial submission, whatever you build, build for scale. You don't have to knock down and flatten in order to grow. Very fine point, sir. We appreciate you. Mr. Abdelaziz, this same question. What advice would you give to a fellow CEO or someone in the C-suite who is just beginning their AI readiness journey?
So two things I'm looking at, besides I mentioned about 6 pillars earlier, but for a CEO getting into this, one have to start looking at how you can build that data literacy across the organization. And I mentioned this earlier, and that's why I keep saying this, the HR department or the head of HR is very, very key in making this happen. And governance, ethics and governance are the two major ethics and governance, building that data literacy within the organization. And lastly, security. With all this that's happening, it's like you building a wonderful house, and if you don't have the right security around it, the real owners will come for it. So those are the three major pillars I'll look at if I have to advise someone. Data literacy is very key. Ethics and governance, and I don't use the word cybersecurity, but digital resilience, because it goes just beyond the cybersecurity. So those are the three for me.
Excellent point. Thank you, Mr. Abdelaziz. Gentlemen, Fred will take the last question. Fred, you ready for that?
Yes, even though there are a couple of questions, I don't know, maybe because of time, we're not able to have those questions. But in one phrase, how would you define, I think that would be for Afolabi. In one phrase, how would you define AI-ready leadership today in Nigeria? Probably for everybody else. How would you think, how ready are we, AI readiness, in one phrase for leadership in Nigeria?
Are we going to
Okay,
use the
thanks.
same thing?
Okay, yeah. Okay, thanks. Very, very good question. Can I go on?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Okay, I think in one phrase, I think it's really the ability to embrace innovation without trading off accountability, to progress forward, with a lot of clarity, with a lot of efficiency, and in a way that AI is used as a tool rather than a means to an end itself. It allows you, because ultimately we all have our corporate strategies, so it's only allowing you it only is an enabler, that allows you get faster and more efficiently to your corporate objectives. So that's kind of how I'll describe it.
Thank
It's
you.
embracing
Belima,
innovation.
thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Belima, in one phrase, what do you think?
I would say impact driven, and an impact driven leadership, that is focused on resilience, innovation, and sustainability. If that is your goal, then AI is something to embrace and embrace it early.
Thank you very much. Flourish.
But can you kindly repeat the question? I'm sorry.
So I was saying that in one phrase, how would you define AI ready leadership today as concerns Nigeria?
And your context.
Well, I would look at it from in terms of how AI ready are we? It would be my own context around what we need to do to get ready for this for AI. For AI is about to really explode across globally.
My point. Everybody needs to understand their context. That's what tells whether you're ready or not.
The
Okay.
nation.
Context. Yes,
Are
context is
you?
extremely important. Can you hear me, please?
Okay.
Yes, we can hear
Understand
you.
your context. Understand your use cases that would work for you. AI is a tool or it's a product, whichever way. But your context will determine how ready you really are. A lot of people are jumping on the tool without understanding their context or how it works for them. And then I was reading an article not long ago and it was telling me in 2025, you have 95% of AI solutions or that people have tried to implement have not really been adopted. It's a huge figure. So I go back to the basics again. Context is important. It's not the tool. The tools are a dime a dozen now. The technology, in fact, before you finish one, another one is out. What is your context? That's with my view. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Spot on.
Abdulaziz,
Practical. So we need to be practical about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
yes. Abdulaziz, in one phrase too.
Yeah. So in mine, it's AI-ready leadership is leading with data, empathy, and trust. It's the true foundation of digital resilience. That's one phrase.
Excellent. Thank you
Thank you very much.
very much. Fred, I think we will be wrapping. It's 2 minutes past the time,
Yes.
and we might not. Fred, what do you think? Questions, or we just wrap?
Maybe just one question, so at least one question for just because we promised 2 hours. My apologies to the panelists. Just one question from the audience so that we can.
So there's a question here. How prepared are Nigeria's educational systems and institutions to adopt and integrate artificial intelligence technologies?
Who would want to take that?
So, gentlemen, lady.
Anybody wants to have a go on that? I know it's not your industry per se.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we have feelers and we can weigh.
Freelance.
We
So,
can
so
judge
maybe
on everything.
Abdulaziz, because you've interacted a lot with government, and so what do you think around it?
Not just government. And yeah, so there are plans to integrate this into curriculums. I mean, that's a start. And of course, we're talking about AI, but again, we have to look at the foundation in terms of infrastructure, which I believe is something that it's work in progress. I mean, we know about the project bridge from Dr. the Minister of Communications, he has the project called Digital Bridge, Project Bridge, where we are looking at, or they are looking at, not we, they are looking at covering about 9,000 kilometers of fiber across Nigeria to give access to not just those in the urban areas, rural areas, and schools are still part of that. But I mean, gradually, we have this happening in bits, but that's the overall strategy. We have institutions like the NCC with their Center of Excellence programs, where they have Center of Excellence project in rural schools, where they have some of these basics in terms of internet connectivity, access to uh, kits like pads, notepads, and very low budget laptops. I mean, there are certain tools you need to embrace the usage of AIs in school, and you'll be shocked at the level of certain schools in across Nigeria, especially in the rural areas. So that is happening, but again, it's almost like a long-term plan. That's where I see it, but we'll get there. And I think
Thank you.
from a CSR perspective, a whole lot of organizations in Nigeria, banks, telecom companies are playing their own parts in doing this without government, like enabling schools, putting the right things in perspective for some of the schools. So I have that belief, and I'm positive around the fact that it's going to take some time, but it's a gradual shift, and we'll get there in a very,
Excellent.
yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Abdullah. Well said. Well said. Does anyone want to say something regarding this before we begin to wind down?
I think we'll have a final note, Emmanuel.
Yes.
Lloyd.
Right.
Over to you.
Right.
Just close us out.
Yes. All right. So we want to thank everyone that has been here with us today. We couldn't have asked for better panelists. You all have done marvelously this afternoon. We are very excited to have you in this year's leadership conference. It's been what it should be, and we were very glad for your contributions, perspectives. One thing, though, that has been thrown up is the possibility of us looking at having a representative of the government in future when we have to discuss certain issues bordering on this, and we might explore having someone who might represent them. But we have been able to enrich knowledge, we've been able to learn more, and we agree that Nigeria is on the right track to embrace more of AI, not just in workplace, in schools, and in the economy. So we want to thank you once again, everybody. Tomorrow we'll be having the annual Great Place to Work Award, where we're going to be awarding companies that have made their environments safer, trusting, and wonderful places to work for. And so we want to thank you all very much. Fred and I and the rest of the team at Great Place to Work are happy. Mr. Afolabi, Belema, Mr. Abdelaziz, and Mr. Afolawishaw. Thank you all for coming. Our viewers from across the world, our crew, we are very grateful. Thank you all very much, and God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone. Bye.